Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to add, subtract, and multiply functions. So before we begin, I just wanted to talk about evaluating functions. So if you look at part A, we're supposed to find f of 2. So what does that 2 mean? Well, it's basically telling us what to plug in for x in our f formula. So f of 2 would look like this. I would have 3, and now I'm going to plug 2 in for x. So where x was, I'm going to plunk a 2 in. And now after I work this out, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So my point is, what goes inside of here represents what I'm plugging in for x. So let's actually take a look at part B. So what I want you to notice is I have f plus g, but notice behind it I have x. So what that means is I'm just leaving x as x. I'm not plugging anything in for it. So what we're supposed to do in this particular part is we're supposed to take the f formula, which is the 3x plus 1, this part, and we're supposed to add that to the g function, which is 2x minus 5. So let's see how that would look. So I've got my f, which is 3x plus 1, and then plus my g, which is 2x minus 5. So from here, all I want to do is simplify. So in front of my first group, you can think of there as being a 1, and in front of my second group, there's also a 1. So if I distribute that 1 through the first group, I get 1 times 3x is 3x. 1 times 1 is 1. And now the second group, I've got 1 times 2x is 2x. And then 1 times negative 5 is minus 5. So now all I want to do is combine like terms. So I have 3x and 2x. And then I've got 1 and then minus 5. So if I combine my x's, 3x and 2x is 5x. And then if I combine my 1 and my minus 5, I get minus 4. And that's as far as we can go. Okay, let's take a look at part C. So part C, we're supposed to subtract the two functions. So here I'm going to do f minus g. And again, I want to leave x as just x. So I'm just going to write it as f minus g of x. So this time I'm taking the f function, which is my 3x plus 1. And I want to subtract my whole g function. So it's really critical here that we have parentheses, because if I didn't have them, it would only look like I'm subtracting part of the g function. I want to subtract the entire thing, so I have to have parentheses around the whole g function. Okay, now just like in part B, I want to simplify. So you can think of there as being a 1 in front of the first group and a 1 in front of the second group. So if I distribute that 1 through the first group, it doesn't change anything. I have 3x plus 1. But now with the second group, because there's like a negative 1 in front, when I distribute negative 1 times 2x gives me minus 2x. And then negative 1 times negative 5 gives me a plus 5. So last step is just to combine like terms. So again, I have 3x and minus 2x. So if I combine those, I just get 1x or x. And then I've got 1 plus 5 gives me plus 6. And that's it for part C. Let's take a look at part D. So part D, we're supposed to take f times g, but this time instead of leaving x as x, we're actually going to plug a number in. So in this case, we're going to plug in the number 2. So before I do this part, I'm actually going to approach part D just like I approached parts B and C. I'm going to leave x as x. So if I want to indicate that to my audience, I'm going to write this as f times g of x. So all I'm going to do is go back to my f formula, which was the 3x plus 1. And then I want to multiply that by the g formula, which is the 2x minus 5. So if we do that, we've got 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 5. So now that I'm multiplying one group by another group, I have to do a bunch of distributing. You might have called this FOIL. So I'm going to distribute the 3x through the second group. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times minus 5 is minus 15x. And now I want to distribute the 1 through. So 1 times 2x is 2x. And then 1 times minus 5 is minus 5. And now if I combine like terms, I can combine my x's. So I've got 6x squared minus 13x minus 5. So what I've found so far is just f times g of x. But I haven't finished the problem yet because I'm supposed to find f times g of 2. So the last step in the process is I'm going to take this formula that I just figured out and I'm just going to plug 2 in for my x's. So here we go. So I've got 6, I see an x, so I'm going to plug in 2, and any number I plug in for x is being squared. And then minus 13, there's an x again, so I'm going to plug in my 2. And then minus 5 at the end. So if we work this out, well, now it's an order of operations problem. So I want to do my squaring first, so 2 squared is 4, so I have 6 times 4, and then minus 13 times 2, and then minus 5. If we work this out, 6 times 4 is 24, 13 times 2 is 26, and then minus 5. And now if I subtract 24 minus 26 is negative 2, minus another 5 gives me negative 7 for an answer. So you can see that for part D, my answer is different than it was for part C and B. In parts B and C, notice what I'm left with are formulas. In part D, because I'm plugging a number in for x, what I'm left with at the very end is a number. Okay, now it's your turn. So I've written two functions, h of x and j of x, and I want you to see if you can complete parts A, B, and then C is down here. So pause the video, give those 3 a try, and then come back when you're ready. Alright, so let's take a look at part A. So this one I've got h times j of x. So notice I'm leaving x as just x. So that just means I'm going to take the h formula, leave x as x, and multiply it by the j formula. So if I do that, I'm going to distribute this 4x all the way through this other group because I'm distributing multiplication over subtraction. So I've got 4x times 2x is 8x squared. And then 4x times minus 1 is minus 4x. There are no like terms there, so I can't go any further. Let's take a look at the second one. So the second one, I've got h plus j of x. So again, I'm leaving x as just x, so I'm going to take the whole h formula, which is 2x minus 1, plus the whole j formula, which is 4x. So now if I distribute and think of there as just being a 1 in front of this first group, and if I multiply the 1 by the 4x, what I'm left with is 2x minus 1 plus 4x. There I do have some like terms, so if I combine my like terms, I've got 2x plus 4x is 6x minus 1 would be my final answer. Alright, let's take a look at part C. So part C, we've got h minus j of 3. And again, there are several ways to do this, but my preference is let's start out by finding h minus j of x. Once we find a formula for that function, we can just plug in the 3 for x. So if we go back and look, the h function was 2x minus 1, the j function was 4x. So we've got 2x minus 1, and then minus the j function, which is 4x. So if I distribute the 1 through that first group, we've got 2x minus 1, and then there's just like a 1 in front of this pair of parentheses, so 1 times 4x is minus 4x. Excuse me, negative 1 times 4x. And so if I combine like terms, I've got 2x minus 4x is minus 2x, or negative 2x, and then minus 1. So that's a formula for h minus j of x. If I want to find h minus j of 3, now I need to take my formula that I've just developed and plug a 3 in for the x. So I've got negative 2 times, there's an x, so I'm going to plug a 3 in, and then minus 1. So if I do that, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, and then minus 1 gives me negative 7 for a final answer.